That's fine, sir.
So welcome to the Equip Bootcamp. My name is Olatunji Shobodu. This bootcamp is a 40-day fast-track program that is focused on building your capacity to excel. That is focused on cultivating an excellent spirit in each one of us. And we'd like to target excellence without excuses, or put differently, excellence with ease. Excellence without excuses, excellence with ease. That's one of the things, is one of the realms that we expect you to begin to operate in once the excellent spirit is cultivated in you. And let me say immediately that we're not suggesting that you don't already have an excellent spirit. That's why we also talk about the fact that this program is about upgrading your capacity to excel. I believe at the end of it all, everyone will be able to identify where he or she is. But what will be very clear is that at the end of the program, you will not be where you are today. You will not be where you are today. I have such confidence, to make that kind of a statement, not because I have any magic wand or any Midas touch of my own, but because we deal on the basis of truth, and we know what truth delivers. And it's truth that has been tried, tested, proven over more than 2,000 years. And it is not going to start failing now. So welcome once again. And I'm just going to basically run through what the program would be like. And today is the first day. I'll then make us understand the framework. Why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we going to follow the kind of process we're following? And what are we expecting to get out of it? What should you be looking forward to? What should you keep track of as we, right now, and as we run through the program over the course of the next 40 days. 40 days, I would say, very quickly can look like a long time. Speaking from the experience of, the last cohort, there are people, virtually everyone didn't think they could make it all through, 40 days. They were wondering, will I really be able to, keep up? Would I be able to spare the time? But, it was all smiles and laughter and a sense of fulfillment at the end on the 40th day, when each one was present, having attended virtually every day of it. 40 days can go by very quickly. We're already in the 5th month right now. Before you know it, we are knocking on day number 40. But what you are about to receive, the experience you have positioned yourself for, I believe is worth giving everything to get all in just 40 days. It's amazing what can happen within 40 days. And, that's all I can say at this point. Please be on the lookout. This is nothing like you have ever experienced, I believe. So it's all about upgrading, a commitment to upgrade our capacity to excel. You're about to experience a redefining transformation in 40 days, a redefining transformation in 40 days. A new lifestyle beckons for you. There are many things I would say right away that you should look forward to changing, because you are going to hear things, you are going to see things, many of which you may have known before, but you didn't give them the priority, or you didn't ascribe the importance that, was due to them. But I believe, God, that you're going to see things differently. And it will prompt you certainly, to make some far-reaching adjustments. Okay. So this, a new lifestyle beckons, is going to be a major turning point. And I'm saying here that the kingdom comes practically into your life, bringing with it the privilege to meet your needs with unusual ease. That is a life of fulfillment. There's a lot that is packed into that statement. But let me remind us, one of the things that we regularly say, we say it when we pray. Remember the Lord's Prayer. That's the very first thing. It's the very first expression, of a desire when you think about the Lord's Prayer. It says, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Those are all just saluting God, just acknowledging him. And then you go on to say, thy kingdom come. So when I say the kingdom comes here, that's what I'm referring to. Why do you say thy kingdom come? Do we in fact know what we mean when we say thy kingdom come or your kingdom come? Every time we pray that prayer, I'm sure every one of us, probably grew up praying that prayer. Every one of us can say that prayer even if we're asleep. All right. Thy kingdom come, thy kingdom come. What does it mean? What does it really mean? And I'm saying here that the meaning is so far-reaching, you would not believe it. Now, I said when the kingdom comes, it brings with it certain privileges, and they're the privilege to meet your needs with unusual ease. What is that? Let me refer you to another part that we very regularly quote. All right, and that's Matthew 6 and verse 33. Well, you and I know what it says. It says, seek ye first the kingdom of God. You see the kingdom there again. It said, let it be first priority. In that prayer, it was first priority. It's the first thing that you must desire. That's why that prayer, the first desire in that prayer was the kingdom come. Now, we see elsewhere, the same person who taught that prayer to his people, to those who were following him, to those who wanted to live like him, please make note of that, said that's what to seek first. That's what to seek first. So there is consistency when you look at those two statements coming from the same person. Now, what's the benefit of doing that? Or what's the consequence of doing that? It said, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. All right. And all these things, all the things that you and I will worry about, all our needs will be met. So if the kingdom comes, meaning that you are seeking the kingdom first, then your needs are guaranteed to be met. The reason that many people are not fulfilled in life is because their needs are not being met. When your needs are being met, you will be fulfilled in life. When your needs are being met, you'll be fulfilled in life. So whatever you do that helps you to meet your needs, especially with unusual ease, because he said, if you seek the kingdom, then all other things shall be added. If you believe that, that's unusual ease. That is, there is a key that you are, being shown, that if you do this, then this which you would have been hustling for, will be thrown on your laps virtually. So it is critical for us to know, what does it mean by saying the kingdom comes? Now, you are going to listen to a number of parables This is an adventure into the parables of Jesus, and I'm going to connect the dots shortly. But I needed to make this statement at this point, that many of the parables started by saying, the kingdom of God is like this. The kingdom of God is like a merchant. The kingdom of God is like a fisherman who went out and threw out his fishing net. The kingdom of God is like one who took a mustard seed and planted it. The kingdom of God is this, the kingdom of God is that. We're going to see it in very many of the parables. What it means is that the parables, therefore, were told to make us understand how the kingdom operates, the principles by which the kingdom operates. That's what the kingdom comes means. So thy kingdom come means let your principles dominate our lives. Let us run our lives according to your principles. You will get this clearer when we begin to take parable by parable, that the parables are not describing the kingdom, as it were. They are describing the conduct of the people in the kingdom. I hope you get that. So this is how the kingdom operates. And why are you and I told that that is what we should desire? It means that we are expected to live a life that operates on the basis of those principles, the kingdom principles. Every single parable that we'll be looking at expresses a kingdom principle. Every single parable describes the same approach to life and to issues of life that Jesus himself adopted. He never told us to do something that he did not practice. He wasn't a hypocrite. If you study him carefully, you would know that he was always anti-hypocrites or anti-hypocrites, for those who prefer that pronunciation. All right, so he will speak to the teachers of the law at that time, to the scribes. He will speak to the Pharisees, call them hypocrites, hypocrites, hypocrites. He was against them because they operated, he said, they prefer to uphold the traditions of men, as many of us do today. Many of the things that we live life by, many of the things that we observe in our lives, they are not principles of God. They are the traditions that we grew up with. They are the traditions. And if you uphold the traditions, your needs can be met. Meaning you will struggle to meet your needs. And if you have to struggle so much to meet your needs, you can't possibly be fulfilled. All right? But there is a different way of doing things. If you knew the principles and you operate by them, the beauty of principles is this. When you say 2 plus 2 is 4, principles will give you, once you add 2 plus 2, you can be sure that except there is some strange development, and there can be once in a while, otherwise, 2 plus 2 will always be 4. It's only in exceptional cases that something can happen, and that will make 2 plus 2 not 4. So you can run on the basis of that principle because you know what to put in if you want to get a particular result. What a way to live. What a way to live. So a new lifestyle beckons, a lifestyle where the kingdom comes, as it were. All right, who am I? Olatunji Shobodu is my name. Some of you have met me. We have had the privilege of interacting, in one fora or at one level or the other. But here I am once again. And for those who have not met me, I'm passionate about teaching. I'm passionate about sharing, knowledge, about gaining from others. I help believers, professionals, business people, entrepreneurs lead right. So I'm basically, operate within the leadership space and the personal career development space with over 35 years, all of that in the corporate setting. I am not a pastor. I have to say that upfront, and this is not intended to be, these are not going to be preaching sessions. These are business sessions that are focused on using the truth in the Word of God in our practical day-to-day living, something that we don't often do, even though many times we talk about it. But again, you will see that, and I challenge you to look inwards, as we go through these 40 days. Just look at yourself and look at your approach to life, and speak truth to yourself. To what extent do you run by the kingdom principles? And let's not be religious. Nobody is under trial. Here we're all ready to learn. I'm learning just as I'm teaching, and I believe you also have, things to teach. So I'm a leadership and personal development, coach. Well, I'm the anchor for the boot camp. I'm going to be taking us through the next 40 days. The commandant, as it were, since it is a boot camp, I guess I double as the commandant. I just realized that this time. I didn't use that with the last cohort, but this time I think, that becomes more relevant. Founder and CEO of Emet Leadership Academy. At Emet Leadership Academy, we bring you these kinds of programs, and our tagline is leadership nurtured by truth. By the grace of God, author of 63 books to date, a number of others is still in the works, and the most recent of them is what you have on your screen. Thus, these offend you. How to handle today's tough leadership realities. It's packed with truth directly from the Word, using Jesus as the role model leader. And if you are interested in them, in the book, you can find it on Amazon. I will give you a link for those who can access it there. But for those who might prefer an e-version, I'd also give you a separate link for that. All right, so be fully equipped for excellence. That's what we want to do. This is a one-of-a-kind adventure into the frequency of excellence. Let me ask at this point, and please, you can use the chat to respond. I would normally create time at the end of the session so I can gain speed during the session, at the end of the session, to have your contributions or your remarks. But if you do have any pressing question, just so that you don't forget, you can just put it in the chat. I have my eyes on the chat all through. If you want to, also share the things that are, occurring to you. Maybe, teachable moments, or, eye-opening moments, things that strike you. You can also put them in the chat. So I want to encourage us to participate. I'm hoping that for this class also, like we had in the previous cohort, we will have a governor very soon, who will help, us to coordinate activities. So I want you to indicate if you have ever gone through the parables of Jesus and how many you believe they are. If you have ever intentionally said, I want to go through these parables. I'm not asking if you know them. Of course, you can indicate if you know them. You can indicate how many of them you know. You may also even indicate, all right, if you have gone through them before, and if you apply the principles, all right, on day-to-day basis. Are they a vital part of how you live, or how do you see them? Or are they just stories that you are familiar with, that you grew up with? You know, which of them is it? So please, I'd like to see your contributions in the chat. Kindly, help. Let's start that way so that, the class also can get very active. But I believe, in my experience to date, since this idea, occurred to me, let me say 9.5 out of 10 people that I have met, 9.5 have never undertaken an adventure, a learning adventure into the parables of Jesus. Not that they don't know that. Of course, many don't even know how many they are. All right. But they are familiar with them. They have heard them. Some of them can tell you the story. But that's where it ends. Do they understand what they even mean? What they mean, for different aspects of their lives? Do they bother to use some of that insight? That's a whole different story. For the most part, the answer to that is no. So it would be nice to see, whether that statistic will change, in this class. And like I said, there's nothing, to be shy about. All right, good. So I'm seeing here, I've not intentionally gone through them, but know them. Yes, I haven't gone through all of them, but as many as I have, I try to imbibe them. Thank you very much. Let's have others contribute as well. Please don't be shy. At least, we're not speaking yet. So go ahead and contribute. We're still looking, everybody has access to the chat. And by the way, the facility that we're using, this chat is going to be available, the same chat all through the 40 days. So you can catch up with anything, even if you were not in class. Once you get back and you are connected, you will see the comments that everyone has made. That's one of the interesting new features that Zoom has added recently, and I think it's just wonderful. You may, in fact, be able to even see, some of the comments that the previous cohort raised, because I'm keeping the same. All right. So there is that continuity. And that's an added benefit for you. You can also see how, this cohort compares with the previous one. All right. I haven't been a devoted Christian all my life. I have been a devoted, but it never occurred to me to deliberately study the parable. Great. That's another interesting perspective. Thank you for expressing that. We still have others in class. Please don't be shy. Go ahead and express yourself. So what are we looking at today? What are we looking at today? The contents, the program benefits, I'm going to go through them, the program goals, the program structure. How do you maximize what you learn? All right, over the course of these 40 days and beyond. And then I will share with you what the format of our daily discussion will be, because we're going to be using the same format after today. For the next 38 days, we'll use the same format, and then we'll close. And then I would mention one or two things about other materials or information that you need to know. So let's very quickly go ahead. It's important that you know what benefits, will accrue to you by being a part of this program. And please listen to these benefits very carefully. At the end of this program, you would have started walking with the wise and set in motion the benefits associated with making such a simple but profound change in your life. This is something I just added. It wasn't there. If you look at the slides of the previous cohort, it was not there. I just added this. And I came to the realization from Proverbs 13 and verse 20. And what does it say? It said, he who walks with the wise shall be wise. It said, but the companion of fools shall be destroyed. If you walk with the wise, you'll be wise. If you hang around fools, you have something else coming. But the question is, what does it mean? What does walking with the wise mean? Does it mean that you necessarily need to have people who are wise, who are your friends, who are your colleagues, who are the people you associate with? That's true, but it doesn't end there. One of the aspects that is often neglected, but covered very well by this statement, is that if you learn from the wise, if you read what the wise have written, if you hear what the wise are saying, and you understand them, and you put them to practice, you are walking with the wise. You are walking with the wise. You are walking with the wise. Many of us, who are believers, we talk about, walking in the Spirit, living in the Spirit. But we want to hear from the Spirit. But we may not hear audibly from the Spirit. So how does the Spirit speak to us? The Spirit speaks to us because he reminds us of the things that we have learned. What are the things we learned? Things we read. We probably didn't hear Jesus speak to us directly, but we read his word. And guess what? In those words, on those words, are the spirit of the one who said them. So if you embrace them, you embrace the spirit of the one who said them. If you believe them, they work for you. John 1:14 tells us, it said, those who received him, those who believed in him, he gave the power to become like him. All right. To become sons of God. All right. It's to become like him. So you walk with the wise, you will become wise. You walk with the wise, you become wise. Now you are going, by studying the parables, you are going to be walking with Christ. And because you are going to be walking with Christ, there is no wiser man who ever lived on the earth. Solomon, yes, but Solomon was before Jesus came. After Jesus came, Solomon's record was put in the cooler. All right. No wiser one. So, and we're going to, all our time here is spent on a set of pronouncements that he used, that he made deliberately. He spoke parables deliberately, intentionally. He never said anything if he didn't mean that. And we are told he never taught without parables. So how can we overlook that? I mean, how is it possible that we are following somebody who never taught, yet he was always teaching? Teaching was at the cornerstone of his ministry, of all he did. He taught and then he healed. He had to teach before healing. Why? Because he needed the people to have faith. That's why we were also told that there were some places he couldn't do anything as powerful as he was. Why? Because of their unbelief. They didn't believe. All right? So here was somebody who was teaching all through, and he never taught without parables, we are told. So how do we not place emphasis on these parables that he was always using? And you will see as we go along that he was always using the parables when situations, life problems, life puzzles, life challenges were presented to him. And then he will speak a parable. And then he will speak a parable. In Luke 18 and verse 1, he said, and Jesus spoke a parable to this end, that men ought always to pray and not faint. And then he went ahead and spoke the parable of the persistent widow. He was illustrating something. And he used the parable. So if you want to understand how to manage the kind of situation that he found himself, which you and I find ourselves in every day, the principles to apply, they are inside that parable. How easy would life have been if we can call up those principles at that time or at such times and apply them? Because they walk. They walk. That's the truth. They walk. But you can't apply what you don't know. You can't apply what you never taken seriously. They are just like the stones that the builders rejected, not knowing that they are the very cornerstone, the head of the corner. So you start walking with the wise in the sense that you are going to be so loaded with material that you cannot ignore. That's the truth. You can't ignore that. If you understand the issues we're going to talk about, there is no way immersing yourself over 40 consecutive days in such profound materials that you will now begin to live life as if they don't exist. You're going to cultivate an excellent spirit with enhanced capacity to excel in everything you do. Everything that Jesus did was excellent. Every time he spoke, every time he did something, the people always were either amazed or astonished. So much so they would say, where did this man get this kind of authority? Or they would say, you know, we have never seen it in this fashion. Because there was a spirit in him called the excellent spirit. And that's a spirit that could handle any situation, that could walk around any situation, that could deal with any puzzle. Isn't it interesting that we had a man like Daniel? And you must have read, you know, the stories of Daniel and how significant Daniel was in a strange land because he was a slave. They had been taken captive. But in the strange land, the man shone like 1,000 stars. He shone from one regime to the other. It seemed like, you know, it was one of those cases where that statement that, you know, we're fond of making a statement that, you know, a Pharaoh will come who does not know Joseph. But in the case of Daniel, every king that came, you know, came to know him because they needed him. They would always face an issue that all the wise men put together could never resolve. And then there'll be people who will call their attention. There is one man in this kingdom. He was there in the days of your father. The spirit of the holy gods is in him. An excellent spirit was found in him. That's how the man was described. His distinction, his source point of differentiation was that he carried a different spirit called an excellent spirit. The excellent spirit was not dropped on him overnight. It was not prophesied into him, in quotes. But we understand that he was under the tutelage of the head of the king's councils for 3 years. Along with his 3 friends, they were schooled to the point where this, you know, things came alive in him. Yes, he may have had a spirit, a gift. You and I have gifts. But are they operating as they should? Are they operating at the level that they should? Are we taking full advantage of that? And who is helping us to do that? In what ways are we doing that? So, and when you look at Jesus himself, 40 days, he went to the wilderness. He didn't go there by himself. He went to be taught by the Spirit of God, by the Holy Spirit. In his own case, fasting and praying. And if you know what the Spirit of God does, which Jesus himself told us about, he would not have spent any of those days without teaching, without learning. Before he even went on those 40 days, he already was going to the synagogue to sit under the leaders to learn from them. He wasn't the one teaching. He was learning from that. So there is a point that you go through under expert guidance of what you would call a coach, like today, which is essentially the role that I'm playing, that helps you to develop and cultivate that spirit in you. And so it's one of the things that you should look forward to. It's one of the benefits that will come to you in this program. Number 3, you are going to be differentiated, distinguished, and defined or redefined by your new commitment to excellence. By the time you are done with this program, nothing short of excellence will satisfy you. Nothing short of excellence would be your quest. Why? Because the spirit that you're going to contact, has that nature. Nothing short of excellence, all right, of result, quality result, will satisfy you. Number 4, you will realign and reposition your life firmly on the path of growth, progress, and good success, based on a principle-driven strategy, because it's going to be one principle after the other. And as you commit to it, you are moving away from the way you have lived before. And these principles foster growth, prosperity, progress. All right? And lastly, a welcome lifestyle change. It's going to be a change in the way you live. One that thrives on practicing kingdom principles. Remember, kingdom come, and ensures your needs are met with unusual ease. You know where I got that from. What are some of the goals of this program? What are we trying to achieve? And I look forward to your cooperation, to achieve these goals. So there are 6 of them. Once again, I've added one more from the last cohort. You're going to cultivate an excellent spirit in you through 40 days of intensive learning and discoveries from the parables of Jesus. You're going to become 10 times better than your peers, just like Daniel was. He was found to be 10 times better than his contemporaries because of that same excellent spirit. It's what that excellent spirit makes you into. And even then, his peers were also learned. Notice, his peers were not illiterates. His peers were learned. They also went through the same program, So like I said, Daniel and his friends were even among acknowledged high flyers. Our goal is also to promote the attitude of ease towards challenges. When you have command of principles, all right, challenges don't scare you. Why? Because it's like a mechanic who has his toolkit, all right, and who knows his onions, knows how to use them, has an understanding of the kinds of problems that can come up with a car. He approaches every call that he receives with confidence. And that is going to happen. That is one of the goals of this program. It's going to make you a reference point, all right, for those seeking an excellent lifestyle. Because there are some 4 pillars that I'm going to talk about, which will be standing firmly by the time you are done. Number 5 is going to exempt you from the poor quality outcomes experienced by your peers, maybe even by you, maybe by other leaders. So better quality outcomes. Obviously, if you have access to principles by which life runs, you will be more in control, and you'll be able to determine the quality of outcomes that you get. It would empower you. That's the 6th. To lead a principle-oriented life that make your results more predictable and performance guaranteed at all times. No wonder Jesus never failed, never encountered a problem that he could not solve. All right. Never encountered a problem it could not solve. What's the structure of the program? They're in 3 modules. The first started this morning, now, and is going to end now. And then we'll go into the second module. So we'll talk about the route to excellence. And then the second, we'll talk about, going from now till that excellent spirit is cultivated. And then the third, which will be the last module, is actually going to be the last day, how to activate the excellent spirit that you have contacted. So very quickly, the first module, the route to excellence, is how to cultivate an excellent spirit, within these 40 days through expert guidance. Now, this is how we intend to achieve this. This is how we are going to work together to achieve this. Number one, you understand the excellent spirit, what it means. A second is how to cultivate the excellent spirit. The third, what are the manifestations of excellence? The fourth, the parable route to excellence. Why are we going that route? Number five, I'd like for you also to appreciate the 4 pillars of an excellent spirit so that, we give it some visual sort of representation, and that helps you to appreciate the nature of that spirit better. We'll look at understanding the excellent spirit. Number one, the spirit at work in us shapes our capacity and the quality of results we produce. Many of us don't understand that in each person, there is a spirit. You have a spirit, I have a spirit. Every person has a spirit. It doesn't matter whether you're a believer or you're not a believer. We all have spirits. We all have spirits. And that is what really determines the results we produce. It is what determines how we conduct ourselves. It is what determines our approach to life. A lot of people talk about mindset and all of that. It is what determines even your mindset. It's what determines your mindset. Okay? So you need to understand that you are not just operating. Okay? And therefore, in order to improve your results, you must improve your capacity. You want to improve your results, improve your capacity. And that will include also your competence, that is your ability to deploy your capacity to get relevant results. All right? And in order to improve your capacity, you must upgrade your spirits. The quality of your spirit must improve. I tell people, if you are getting certain results now and you are not satisfied with it, the reason is because that's the quality of what you have inside you. That's the quality of the makeup of your spirit. You want to improve. The quality of what is contained in you, in your heart. All right? It affects your spirit. It affects your spirit. Number 3, therefore. So your spirits can be upgraded. How? Through knowledge. Those things that enter into your heart, those things that you allow into your heart. That is the engine room of each person, the residence of the spirit. What is getting in there is the way that you are shaping, empowering your spirit. So you want to affect that spirit, that's what you need to do. Counsel. Who are you listening to? Who is offering you advice? All right? As you are taking the advice and running with it, it's becoming a part of you. It is affecting you. It is shaping your spirit, either empowering it or undermining it. Your association. Who are you hanging around? We just talked about it. If you walk with the wise, you'll be wise. If you keep company with fools, you know what is coming. In Psalm 1, verse 1 tells us that the man who is blessed is the one who does not sit around 3 categories of people: sinners, the ungodly, and scorners. So it tells you that association is very important. All right? When you hang around someone too much, listening to them in the process, something happens. The spirits interact. All right? Impartation is one thing also. And this can be very spiritual, but I don't want to get into all of that. Like I said, I'm not a pastor, but um, I'm sure anyone can relate to that. Paul was speaking to Timothy. He reminded him that there is a gift that you have that was transferred to you when the elders laid hands on you. So there's also that channel, all right, for affecting your spirit. When you have people who have the kind of spirit that you desire, they're the kinds of people you should allow, all right, to speak to you, to lay hands on you. I mean, some other people can speak to you, but you can speak to me. If I don't want to hear what you are saying, I would hear, but I would not keep it. It will come through one ear and it will go through another. So I'm not at risk. And nobody can affect me except that I allow. The people that affect me are the people whose words I receive, all right, whose gestures of transferring knowledge, counsel, whatever, even their spirit I receive. And of course, prayer is also a channel through which we can upgrade our spirits. All right. You can cultivate and nurture the excellent spirit. All right. Also, I wanted to, I'm unable to, see that that part is not showing on my screen, but I hope everyone can see it. Okay, so I said you can cultivate and nurture the excellent spirit. So it is possible. It is possible. All right, look at, just to share with you some references that can help to further appreciate that. Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted there by the devil. For 40 days and 40 nights, he fasted and became hungry. He was led by, the Spirit. How do you cultivate the Spirit? These are, steps, and they are the steps we are going to follow so that we can deliver on those goals. You must have a desire. And I believe each of you has, because you are in attendance. If you didn't have, you wouldn't be here. So there must be a thirst. Jesus lifted up his voice, he cried, he said on the last day of the feast, if any man thirst, let him come to me and drink. All right, let him come to me and drink. So the desire must be there. Otherwise, this becomes like a game. You must want what is on offer. You must want this excellent spirit. You must be willing to give it, what it takes. And that includes understanding what it is. When you understand it, it's easier. It strengthens your desire for it. Now look for someone who possesses it. Where can we get it from? All right. And there is no other place. Jesus is an important place to get it from. All right. We saw a lot of things that Daniel did, but we're not privy to many of the things he spoke. He didn't speak them like Jesus spoke parables. Identify the significant feature of his or her way of life. There is no way to x-ray the life of Jesus without coming to the conclusion that one very significant feature of his life were the parables that he spoke about. Remember, he never taught without parables. The parables are all over. They're in Mark, they're in Matthew, they're in Luke. John didn't report that, but that's a different story entirely. All right, that's a different story. But you find that all over. Study the person's life with emphasis on these significant features. Because if you look at me and you can identify the significant features of my life, the way I live, and you study that, those significant features, they hold the secrets behind my lifestyle. That's why they are that significant. The secrets of how I live, what makes me tick, why I do what I do, why I think the way I think, they are in the significant feature. They are all in the parables. They are not just stories. The stories he told them as stories as a way to make it easy for the people to relate to what he was saying, because he used day-to-day occurrences that they could relate to, even though the story hid very important things, because the average man won't understand what he said. You won't understand what he said just because you listen to it. That's why you will see shortly he explained every one of them after speaking it to the parables. Most times they would ask him, what do you mean by these parables? Times they want to be sure, are you referring to us or you are referring to somebody else? So you study with an emphasis on those significant features. And in doing that, you are drinking into that spirit. In doing that, you are drinking into that spirit. The next thing is what you gain, what you learned, you practice that. What you gain, you practice that. You try to imitate. And there is nothing bad with imitation. Imitation is a good way, all right, to develop along certain lines. Paul said, imitate me as I imitate Christ. All right, it's a secret to how to develop certain kinds of attributes, especially character attributes. Be persistent and purposeful. Know why you are doing it. Do it for the right reasons. Not do it just because you want to associate. Do it for your own good so that the purpose for which they have been spoken can be fulfilled in you. That way you are also living a purpose-driven life. And that's very crucial. And then finally, watch out for the expressions of excellence. That is the kind of results that you're doing of what you have learned that they produce. Because as you practice that, you see the effect. One of the experiences in the last cohort was that as we discussed, extrayed each parable with each passing day. I mean, these were all people who are career people. They were all working in their different, professions. And so we will come at night, and at the end of every session, each one has an opportunity to speak, and they will share their experiences, what they learned, what happened at work, how some of, those situations now brought them back to what they just learned the previous night. And in some particular instances, it just seemed like every time we discuss one thing, the next day they are experiencing something directly along that line, and it always seemed like whatever we discuss, helps them to deal with certain specific issues that either came up or that had been there. So please be on the lookout. Every of my sessions, I always, encourage participants to look inwards. It's about you. The benefits are for you. All right. So as you listen, you have to be interrogating self. You have to be asking yourself questions. You have to be asking to see what applies to you, where they apply to you, what applies to the situations that you have either gone through or that you are handling. That's the way that you can relate these things practically to how you are living your life currently. And it's the best way, all right, to extract value from, this kind of program. Is the best way to extract value. So I look forward to the same thing happening in this class. So just to give you an idea of the fact that the spirits are transferable, okay? We know the interaction that took place between Elijah and his servant, Elisha, who was like a follower. And they came to a point, the master asked, He said to Elisha, tell me what I can do for you before I am taken away. So while you are with me, what is it that you want? And Elijah was very clear about what he wanted. He said, let me inherit not just your spirit, a double share of your spirit and become your successor. Let me experience a double share of your spirit. He wasn't even asking, for the same measure. So that will tell you that you can collect, the spirit in a multiplied dimension. And he did collect it. And there was an acknowledgement, all right, by others who saw him. He said, shortly after that, when what he asked was delivered to him, and it was delivered because he was focused on his master all through. It was like closely marking his master, waiting for the time that thing would happen. He said, when the group of prophets from Jericho saw from a distance what happened, they exclaimed, Elijah's spirit rests upon Elisha. And they went to meet him and bowed to the ground before him. Expect that kind of treatment when the spirit of excellence is found in you. People will see it, all right? And you will receive comments from people, all right? People will see you after now because nobody knows that you are going through a program like this. Nobody knows the rigor, the sacrifices, and all of that. But in 40 days, even before it's done, there are people who will be telling you what they have begun to notice, beginning especially with those, who are closer to you, all right, because these changes are going to come. Provided that you are committed, that you desire it, that you put it into practice, the changes must come. They must come. And it doesn't have anything to do with me. Truth does not need anybody to argue its case. It will show itself, all right? Whether you like it or not, it will show itself. So, and what we teach here is the truth. How will this excellence show up in your life? Yeah. Like I said, it is the product of a spirit, and the spirit will show itself in the way you think, because your thinking will change. In the things that you believe in, your beliefs are going to change. In the values that you hold dear, your values will be affected. Your character will be impacted. Very crucial. This one, very crucial. Your actions, therefore, will be affected. There are things you will begin to do differently. There are things you never used to do, you will start doing. There are things that you are doing now that you will stop doing because you know better. Because you have fed yourself so much that the spirit that now works in you can just not do those things. There are some things some people can never do, no matter how you try to get them to do it. Why? Because what is inside them, the spirit, or what they have put inside them, will just never cooperate, to make such things happen. And then, of course, the results that show up in the things you do will be different as well. Your results will be different. And still talking about those manifestations, two, categories in a sense. There's what will show up in your competence. There's what will show up in your character. All right. Knowledge, understanding, wisdom, power, all of those things become more evident, become more, your life become more characteristic. You give greater recognition to the need to place emphasis on those things. And then the character is typically what we define as the fruit of the Spirit. Expect that to show, to be strengthened. Your character will take a hit over the next 40 days. You are not going to suddenly become, very strong in character, but there are aspects of you that will receive a big knock that wakes you up, that there are changes that are imperative that you must make in certain areas, and as you take those steps, the strength of your character is improved significantly. And there you have love, joy, peace, patience, faith, or, confidence, or, diligence, goodness, or moral excellence, kindness, humility, self-control, or discipline. As we go on, you will see how each of these becomes, how they will be affected, how they will show up, all right, that excellent spirit that is being cultivated in you. I thought to make a reference here to how Daniel was described. It was being described here, and it was said about him, because an excellent spirit, knowledge and understanding to interpret dreams, clarify riddles, and solve knotty problems were found in the same Daniel, whom the king named Belteshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will show the interpretation. Look at all the things that the excellent spirit, energized in him. He said he had understanding of and could interpret dreams. He could clarify riddles. He could solve knotty problems. You'll be amazed how the kind of wisdom and insight you gain into these parables will empower you to deal with problems, some of which you had treated differently. We saw that practically, again in the last cohort, with participants coming to share, real life ongoing challenges, in the responsibilities they have at work, and how, all that we were discussing had shaped or reshaped the way they saw the issues and the kinds of solutions that they were able to implement. That's what we're talking about. Look at, it said, then, this is another reference elsewhere, under a different regime. Then this Daniel was distinguished above the precedents. Above the precedents. So when you contact stuff here and through this process, yes, all of us have bosses, all of us have superiors, but they will take greater notice of you because you are going to operate at a different level. All right. There is distinction that will come upon you as a result. And look at, it was distinguished above the president and the satraps. These were very senior people in the regime at the time. They said, look at the reason, because an excellent spirit was in him. That was the source of the distinction. That was what brought him that distinction. That was what differentiated him. That was what defined his person within the context of, the regime in place. So look forward to that. And the king thought to set him over the whole realm. So you see that when you are able to develop this, you also become an attraction. All right. You become an attraction for those looking for leaders. You become an attraction for those who are looking for people that they can depend on to help them resolve issues. That's part of what this exercise will make of you, because you will change. Others will notice it, and they will see greater capacity, greater competence in you, and they will make the confidence to depend on you, will be enhanced in as many people as you have cause to interact with. All right. Why are we going the parable route? I think I've said enough of that. What's the one thing that's a significant feature or custom of Jesus? His parables. What do the collection or the bank of those parables represents? All right. There are 38 parables. They could be regarded as 40 if you add two other scenarios. But generally, the agreement is that there are 38 of them. And, you know, they represent, you know, a collection of principles. They all relate to how to conduct ourselves in different situations in life. They reveal certain mysteries. You will see some mysteries. So a mystery is something that you and I cannot understand. Why this? But we also see the advantage, all right? Because if you appreciate that and you appreciate what they bring about, I mean, you just marvel that, wow, God has a way of just, you know, doing things. But they're available for us to use. You will see tactics. You identify skills. You identify tools. All of these things are packed inside those parables. And we are going to be looking them not like religious people. And I use that with, you know, every sense of responsibility. And what I truly mean there is that our focus is, let's understand what they mean. But beyond the context of salvation, if you like, how do they help to deal with practical situations that we face on a day-to-day basis? Because the applications are not limited. As far as you can see the word, there's what you see. You know, we see different things from the word. If I'm reading the Bible from a leadership perspective, if you are reading it from a prayer perspective, what I see, you won't see. What you see, I would not see. All right. But what I see does not make you wrong. And what you see will not make me wrong. So there is the issue of perspective. So the perspective from which we'll be looking at these parables is such that we want to be able to apply them practical to our life situations. All right. And what can we learn or receive from that? You know, if we intentionally study that, I'm going to leave that to you. And we fill in that. We discover that. It's also an adventure of discoveries. And who will we operate like if we drink into that? Of course, the person who spoke them, because all of those words that express the parables are words spoken by Jesus, and the Spirit rests upon those words. Okay? And, you know, they just have a way, if you imbibe them, of shaping and reshaping us. Okay. Now, to give some visual, expression to this excellent spirit, I've chosen to look at it from two, perspectives. And so I say, well, you can look at them, a framework, as the excellent spirit having four pillars. What are those four pillars? Number one is fairness. So when you have this excellent spirit, you are going to be fair in your dealings at all times, in your dealings with people. You will be known to be a fair person, because fairness is one of those underlying, characteristics that you would notice in virtually all the parables. There is no parable that runs contrary to this principle. The second thing that you would notice is the tendency to forbear. That is, to acknowledge the fact that people can make mistakes, and, don't get overly, anxious, and don't react adversely when all that has happened is that, somebody has made a mistake. Because life also is about moving from one level to the other, and it's about development. I mean, if nobody makes mistakes, then we're all perfect, and there will be no need to improve. All right. So inherent in the fact that we are developing is the requirement to forbear. All right. Expect that people can make mistakes and show understanding. All right. Don't tolerate people who want to take advantage or who want to hide under that umbrella. But, where there is sincerity, you learn to accommodate and to help those people to improve. Then there's a third element, which is faith. And faith, you shouldn't be surprised. Why? Because this is a kingdom. One of the underlying principles here is that everything in this kingdom works by faith, and the just shall live by his faith. But faith also in this instance, all right, talks about diligence or faithfulness. All right. And you are going to see that. You are going to see that this is a kingdom where that plays a very crucial role. Diligence. All right. Faithfulness. And then, of course, compliance. It's a kingdom of rules. There are things to do, there are things not to do, and you are expected to comply. You're expected to comply. We will see that also in the parable. So there are 4 pillars, as it were. And in case you are interested in the source of that, is Matthew 23 and verse 23, or Luke 11 and verse 42. All right, where, they call them the weightier matters of the law. Okay. An alternative framework you would find in the book of Timothy, and it's a popular scripture that says, well, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of love, of power, and sound mind. I added a 4th one, which, not that I'm adding to the word of God, but it's implied in that statement. It said, God has not given us a spirit of fear, meaning that if he hasn't given us a spirit of fear, he has given us a spirit of faith, because the opposite of fear is faith. All right. He didn't give us fear. It has to be one or the other. Okay. So is the spirit of faith. But if you look at the real definition of love, you can also argue that faith is covered in that, because, faith in the description of love in 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7, faith is also captured. But I wanted to bring out that aspect, which is salient in that expression, that profound expression. He said, this is the kind of spirit. And the spirit we're given is an excellent spirit. It's the same spirit, all right, that is in Christ. The challenge is whether we know it and whether we have done anything to activate it and to nurture it, all right? And everything in life has stages and phases, everything. We grow from strength to strength, from grace to grace, from increase to increase. Light shines more and more, from glory to glory. Everything has, stages. So that's why there's always room to improve. There's always room to improve. So again, you see that I call it an alternative framework. So you would see how in all of these parables, faith, which incidentally appears in the first framework as well, you see power. Nothing gets done without power. Nothing gets done without power. So every parable, what you learn from there is a source of power. You see love expressed. Love is also foundational. And if you operate these principles, they help to develop, all right, that character attribute in us. Is one of the greatest challenges that we have as children of God. And then soundness of mind, or a sound mind. Okay, so whichever you choose will help you to track the development of that excellent spirit, or the formation of that excellent spirit, or the presence of that excellent spirit in you. So watch out for the pillars, I have said. And that's it. You find that scripture, 2 Timothy 1 and verse 7. All right. And Matthew 23:23, like I mentioned. So how do we maximize, our learnings? How do we maximize what we'll be learning? And I'm going to give you 10 things. I added one more again, after the last cohort. So the first is maintain an open mind. Please maintain an open mind. Be as open, as though you never had these things before, as though you never had the parables before. All right, be ready to embrace all that they offer. Be ready to embrace all that they offer. I am not asking you to take the things that, we have to say hook, line, and sinker, as they say. All right, I'm asking you to receive them and to do everything you can to understand them. Please, don't go and do what you don't understand. Don't go and do what you don't understand. There will be only frustration out of it. All right. It's good to spend 90% effort understanding and 10% acting. All right. Than to spend 10% effort understanding and 90% acting. All right. The latter, we frustrate, because understanding is crucial. It's crucial. In fact, I would even say to you, don't do until you understand, so that you don't waste your time and your resources and you don't get frustrated. And that way it will help for one to focus his or her attention on understanding. In any case, the quality of what you do is also going to be a function of the quality of your understanding. So understanding is important. That's why I think it's Proverbs 4, is it 23 or 27, that says, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom. But many times, that's where we place a lot of the effort, emphasis. But we forget that there is a second part to that statement. And that second part is even more profound. He said, but with all you're getting, get understanding. That emphasis was not there in the first. But imagine the second. He said, with all you're getting. Yes, wisdom is the principal thing, but understanding is crucial as well. He said, with all you're getting, that is, with everything you can muster, give everything to understand something. If something is so important, give whatever, do whatever you need to do to understand it. Why? Because the key to unlocking the benefits that it offers is in your understanding, the quality of your understanding of it. All right. Second is to meditate on that. So take your own time. When you hear things here, please go back, listen to them. Take your own notes, reflect, meditate. All right. Turn the thing, check out if we make reference to any scripture. Go and read, go and do your own search. It helps. It helps your understanding. All right. And it helps to get these things rooted in you, so that as you live, all right, you flow in them. They're not things that you learn today and you forget. The reason why many times, people forget what they learn is because subsequently they never spend time, all right, to just think through, to reflect on, to meditate on those things. That's what meditation also helps you to do. And you find that also in Joshua 1, says the book of the law should not depart from you, but you should meditate on it night and day. All right. So apply them to your circumstances. Okay. Application is important. The reason you are learning, the reason you are seeking understanding is so that you can use them. It's so that you can use them. It's so that you can define your life accordingly. It's so that you can bring order to the way that you run your life. So you are not learning this for anybody. You are learning this so that you can bring order into your life and purpose and doing things the way they should be done. Observe what you must do. So always ask your questions. I mean, always be on the lookout. What is my responsibility? How do I use this? What do I do with it? All right, that's when learning makes sense, because you are coming out of it, observing what you need to do. In everything, you will see your responsibility. In every parable, you will see your responsibility. How to use it, what you must do. It's important. Is important. One of the most important questions to deal with any situation is, what must I do? What must I do? Many times what we call grace is, and the answer to that question, what must I do? Because when you have the answer, the right answer to that question, you will operate as if you were not facing any problem. All right? And then challenge yourself to execute. Please never take for granted that because you know you will do. It often doesn't work that way. You have to decide to do. Challenge yourself. Why learn this thing if I'm not going to put it to work? Because there is what is called the knowing doing gap. You can know. It's a different thing whether you do. All right? You can know. It's a different thing whether you do. And we're going to see one of the parables, the parable of the wise and the foolish builders. You know, we see the wise. Both cases, both of them knew. But did they do what they were taught? One did what was taught, the other didn't. And then the results we will see, because each of them, there will be consequences. Number 6, act when the opportunity presents itself. Act. So there's a difference between, in order for you to act, you must decide to act. You must make that conscious decision that I want to walk this path. I want to walk this talk, so to speak. All right. 7, of course, you need to track your outcomes. So as you do these things, as you live through them, you're also focusing on what results are you getting. So you know whether they're working for you or they are not. There's something here I had before, you know, that statement after track your outcomes. I said, scrutinize what works and what doesn't. Okay. So while I was preparing today, I looked at it. There is nothing that we're teaching here that doesn't work. Everything works. If you don't see it work, it's because you haven't understood it yet. So instead of saying that doesn't work, I said that, and what works and what isn't yet working. That means you have not gotten a hang of it. But there is nothing that we will teach here that does not work. There is nothing. I say that because of the source is the truth. It works. If it doesn't work in somebody's hands, it still remains the truth. The missing link is that the person has not gotten the hang of what he or she needs to do. The person is still lacking one thing. Still lacking one thing. Build on your understanding. That's number 8, through experience. So as you do it, as you see results, you know, you basically strive to improve. And then 9, keep striving for excellence in the quality of your results. So yes, you get results, you want to do better, you know what you did, you want to fine tune and all of that. And that's all that, you know, is associated with the gesture of practice. Now, this is the one I just added today. And one of the secrets, all right, of ensuring that you live out the things you come to understand is for you to teach it to others, share it with others. All right, is a secret. You find that in John 13, when, you know, Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. Say, have you guys seen all the things that I did? He said, I'm doing it, and I'm showing you an example. This is how, you know, to live. And then he said to them that you also should serve each other. So I know many of us are in positions where we are leaders. Don't benefit from these things only to keep it to yourself. Some people learn some things and they want to use it to shine so that they are the only ones that are being celebrated. That's, a short-sighted way of living. As you will see also in the parables, you are encouraged, indeed counseled, that the things you are learning, let it be about how to use them to benefit others. Your greatest benefit will come from not learning them and seeking to directly benefit from them, but using them to benefit the lives of others. And one of the ways that you can do that is by teaching others, giving others an opportunity to learn. And when you do that also, one of the things it does, if you are not, and you can't go through this program and become a Pharisee, is that it also puts you on the line, all right? Because you cannot, all right? I mean, Paul was talking about the fact that, look, the things that they are teaching, they have to be careful to observe themselves, all right? So that they are not found wanting on the very things that they are teaching. When you teach others, that's what it does. That's what it does. It's an important secret. And please, I want you to hold it. My people will say you should put it on your left hand so that you don't eat with it and so that you don't forget it. That is one key that is a bonus that you are getting that the others did not get previously. All right. So that's how to maximize all that you learn. That's how to fully appreciate that. This just restates a point that we have made. In fact, in his public ministry, he never taught without using parables. But afterwards, when he was alone with his disciples, he explained everything to them. Did you see that? He explained everything to them. He explained everything to them. What does that mean? All right, just as I have drawn attention, Jesus said these things to teach the people he was leading. He taught them these things consciously, deliberately. Every moment that he saw an opportunity was a teachable moment for him. And he used the parables to get his point across. And he always had time alone with them. That's the other thing. So that's a bonus for you if you're a leader. Always have time that you spend alone with your people. And let those times be times where you teach. Let it be times where you give them an opportunity to ask you questions and to learn from you. All right. More than anything, it's also a time, to build the relationship, to build proximity. Okay. It's very advantageous. There you have it. Okay. So when you learn these things, please, share with the others. So every day, beginning from tomorrow, we're going to be digging deep into what I call, I often call it the parables bank, because there are so many parables, there. And we'll be going one parable a day. And usually each day we would look at, is broken into, the presentation will be broken into these elements. We'd look at relevance. I call them relevance, the things to note. So there are a host of questions or comments that I make, and that will guide the discussion. All right. They are the things that I list so that I can draw attention to what's important in these parables. So you would have that first slide, after we have read the parable, we'll then highlight what is relevant, for our purpose, what are the things that we should note. And then we will discuss each of those points. Then the next section, we will summarize, right? What are the incremental insights? Now, there is this point about incremental insight, and you should note it from this very stage. That is, every single parable adds something unique that no other parable adds. So don't be tempted to think there are some parables that are saying the same thing. They may be saying similar things, but I guarantee that there is something unique that each parable adds that is incremental in nature. That is, you won't find it in any other parable. Of course, that also affirms that the parables build on each other. All right. So there's a totality of knowledge that we gain from that, but each one adds, is like trying to fill out a jigsaw puzzle. Okay. And for example, we will see that there is one foundation parable, and it's the one we're going to start with actually. And I will show you why it is foundation. Because if you don't understand that parable, you are at the risk of understanding others. You may not understand others. I didn't say that. I will show you, the statement that Jesus made about that. So that incremental. So every session, we will, after discussing, we will summarize what are the incremental insights, what are the things that we are gaining uniquely, as it were, from that parable. And then we also summarize the daily discoveries. All right. So this is not necessarily talking about the incremental, insight, but in total, having discussed this, what are some of the key discoveries? All right. And then, we talk about application areas. This was a suggestion that somebody made, one of the participants made during the last cohort. And so I decided we'll include the application areas, although many times you already can distill those from the discussions. And then end with a notable quote, which hopefully helps you to remember one cardinal point about the discussions for that day. So that's the structure that we'll try to keep to all through. There may be one or two variations, but essentially that's how the next 38 days would run. And the final day will obviously be different. Okay, so I believe that that's where, so from tomorrow, we're going to be digging deep into the parables, and we're going to begin. It will be the start of the second module. It will be the first parable, but it will be the second day of our 40 days. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'd like to thank you for joining the Equip Bootcamp. That is what you have just stepped into. That is an idea of the adventure that you have signed up for. I believe you are clear on what benefits are on offer. You are clear about the goals that we'll be pursuing. You have an idea of the structure that the program is going to take. And what else? You have also been given crucial counsel on how to make the most of this adventure. I want to encourage you again, please feel free. The quality of our sessions will also be defined by the quality of your contributions, how ready and willing you are to volunteer your perspectives, how vulnerable you like to make yourself. It was great during the last cohort, and there was, that spirit of mutual support, of understanding in virtually every aspect of the journey. And I believe that we can have that also, and we can even improve on that, in this cohort. And I'm looking forward to a wonderful time with your very good self. As you can see, 40 days may look like a big deal, but day one is concluded right now. And so usually I will also stop the recording once I am done so that you can feel free to make your contributions, because there are people who may want to say things that are personal. And yes, they can share with the class, but they don't want it to be something that every other person can have an opportunity of listening to beyond the class.